Can I share something with you that completely changed how I approach my dreams and goals? I stopped trying to force fresh starts in the dead of winter and started leaning into the natural rhythm of the seasons. Right now, we're in the first week of summer. And if you look out the window or walk outside, the earth is showing us exactly how to grow. Not through force or pressure, but by us aligning with the divine rhythm that our Creator set in motion. And friends, we have exactly 13 weeks to let this season of summer transform one area of your life. So are you ready to move forward with the dreams and the desires that God has placed in your heart? Hey, you guys, I am popping in because a little bit after I finished recording the video that you're watching right now, I realized that I did not mention something that is very important that I want to make sure you know. That this idea and this focus around 13 weeks and 90 days of intention has been incorporated into the seasonal journals this year. Because I know some of you got the spring journal, but some of you didn't. So you might not be aware that this is something that has been added in case you had ordered a seasonal journal the past few years. So anyway, I love it. And it goes over in the introduction part where we're going over rhythms and practices in each journal. It talks about the importance of this 13-week and 90-day rhythm. But here is the thing I really want you to know about. At the end of each week, it says 90 days of intention, week 1. There are some questions, and each week it's a different question, but they are questions and prompts that invite you to look back at the week you've just walked through, and it asks you some questions. And the questions are intended to help you stay on track. Things that you have written down and journaled about and have in your heart that you want to see change in this season. It's going to ask you some questions to where it's going to keep you on track with some of those things, to where when you get to the end of the summer season, you are going to see change and transformation. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that this is something, what I'm talking about today is incorporated in the seasonal journals, and I will have any information you need in the description as well as a pinned comment. So anyway, wanted to make sure you knew. Here's the thing. We all love fresh starts and new beginnings. So we always have this urge to set up the goals to start on a Monday or at the start of a new year. But let's be honest, how many of us have set goals at the start of a new year only for us not to follow through or actually keep them? And if you're like most people, including me, there's a reason for that. Science explains and has reason for why we struggle to actually follow through by setting goals at that time of the year. I believe it's because God designed us to move with the natural rhythms and not against them. When we try to force fresh starts in the dead of winter, when everything in nature is dormant and resting, we are swimming upstream against the divine rhythm that our Creator set in motion. So what's interesting is a few years ago when I designed and put out the seasonal journals and developed weekly focuses for each week and walking through each season, I realized that there were 13 weeks in each season. And I had done things before, like moving out of the year and like finishing a year strong, and done 90 days of focus, like finishing the year strong in the last 90 days within the community. And it had never dawned on me until I was putting these journals together that basically 13 weeks is 90-ish days sometimes. And I was like, wow, this rhythm of living into and moving through the seasons is so much more powerful than I even thought, because like I mentioned, I had struggled with the traditional goal setting at the start of the year. And let me say, there's nothing wrong with at the start of a fresh new year for us to feel that new year energy and set some intentions of things we want to walk into the new year with living differently. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm not saying that. The point I'm trying to make is when I did that And I know we all have different personalities, so some of you might thrive in that traditional framework. But for me, I would start off excited, but then as the days and weeks went by, I would lose momentum. So by the time spring came, basically, I was not thriving in my intentions. So when I thought about it, where I was at the start of each new year, I was in the thick of winter. I was in a winter season. So even though I might have that burst of New Year energy, the rest of my days were basically living out the season of winter. So that really wasn't the time that I was feeling growth and expansion in my life. But here is the beauty of us moving and living into the rhythm of each season. I want you to think about this. Each season gives us exactly 13 weeks, and 13 weeks is long enough for us to create real, meaningful change, but it's short enough that you can actually see the finish line, which was so helpful for me. Like I said, I would start off with my New Year intentions, but then I would just kind of lose that momentum and focus because December seems so far away. So when I'm working in these 90-day, 13-week rhythms of the season, it's easier for me to stay focused on the intentions and the things that I'm working towards growing and changing in my life. And here's the neat thing. It's not just about us being productive. It's about us being in alignment with the energy of the season. When we, for instance, in this season of summer, when we set our intentions, we're partnering with what's going on in the earth, which is the energy of growth and expansion and abundance that's already flowing in creation around us. So you're working with God's rhythm and not against it. So let's talk about your next 13 weeks. As I'm recording this video and podcast, we're in the first week of summer, which means it is the perfect time to ask yourself, where do you want to be when autumn arrives? And now, this intention or goal that you want to work towards, it doesn't have to be some massive, overwhelming goal, or it can be. That'd be awesome. Maybe it's finally organizing or clearing out and decluttering a space that has been weighing you down because it's something that you've wanted to do for a while, but you've never taken the time to schedule it and make it happen. And so it's just that thing, we all have them, of things we need to do and we want to do that are just floating in the back of our mind that pop up and torture us from time to time because it adds a weight to us because it is a thought and something that we desire to take care of that we keep putting off. So it could be something like that. It could be deepening a relationship with someone in your life that you need to set intentional time to do, or maybe it's healing an area in your own life that you have just put off because you feel like you just don't have the time or capacity. Or maybe it's taking a step toward a dream that God has been whispering to you. The beautiful thing about seasonal intentionality is that it honors both your big dreams and your present reality. You can think big while taking these manageable steps. You can be ambitious while remaining grounded in your each and everyday life. And here's what I've learned. When you align your intentions with God's natural rhythms, something supernatural happens. You start to feel supported by your Creator and creation itself. You begin to trust that the same God that brings forth summer's abundance wants to bring forth abundance in you. And it's not about forcing or striving, but it's about listening to what God has already placed in your heart and giving it the space to grow over these next 13 weeks. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. First, I want you to get quiet and ask yourself, what is one area in my life that God is inviting me to focus on this summer? And I don't want you to overthink it. Trust that first gentle whisper that you hear in your spirit. So get quiet and ask yourself, what is one area of my life that God is inviting me to focus on this summer? Second, I want you to envision, really take a moment and envision where you would love to be with this area at the end of this season, as we're moving into autumn, where would you love to be in this area that came to your mind? And I want you to think about how would it feel and what would be different in your life. I want you to think about it, and I'd love for you to take some time to journal about it and just really process that out. Third, I want you to ask yourself, what's one small step that I could take this week to move forward with that vision? And this third step is critical in you moving forward, of asking yourself, what's one small step that I could take this week to move forward with that vision? But the critical part and why it's so important is you're going to keep going back to that and asking yourself that question. And that is one thing that I am committed to, fresh and anew as I'm entering this summer season, that I'm pretty good at overall. I do, as you know, I love to journal. I like to jot things down. But I've talked about before how I don't do that, and I would say perfectly. My whole thing is I don't think there is a perfectly. I think it needs to fit into your life and who you are. So I can go days without opening up my journal or my planner and staying on track with the things that I have laid out. And so this 90 days, because I have had some things awaken in me in the spring season that I am committed to moving forward on. So I have written out, I started actually in the spring as things would come to my heart and mind that I was feeling called to, I would write those down. And so then when I got my new notebook for summer, so I have my journal, but then I also have to keep a notebook. So as I got a new fresh notebook for this next 13 weeks and 90-day cycle, I went back to my spring notebook and I, again, prayerfully took the things that I felt like God was calling me to, and I transferred them into my summer journal. So I am going to be accountable every day to looking at those goals and to asking myself the questions. And now a lot of people suggest focusing on one thing, and that's totally fine, because here's the thing. You need to do what you're feeling the desire and call to do. So that could be one thing in one area. How I tend to do it is I break it down in the categories of my life. And even though I break it down in categories of our lives are not separate. And so I have come to realize, as I've gotten older, more than ever, that everything is connected. So how I am doing spiritually, how I'm doing in my health, how I am doing financially and in business and relationally with the people that I love and that are in my life, everything affects everything. So I have it broken down in sections in my book. So I have, spiritually, so how I'm going to nourish myself spiritually every single day. How am I going to do that? Health-wise, business-wise, relationally, all my things. I have the different sections. And so each day I am asking myself the question of what did I do today to do this? What did I do today that is going to move me towards the intention and desire that I want to be at, and how different my life's going to be when I get to the end of summer? Because I've seen the power of this. I have seen that the things I've done the last few years specifically is because I have moved within the cycle. And it's like, in this season, I'm doing this. And it's like, I'm focused on that. And I am working towards that. And I have it before me. But the things that I have written down for this summer are going to take some intense focus for me. And one of the reasons why is because it is the summer season, and the summer energy and the summer schedule with a lot of us is different than the spring season or the fall season. So it is going to take a lot more intention and purpose with the different extra, I'll say, activities that are going to be going on this summer, which are wonderful and beautiful. And that's what's going to be interesting, because in this 90 days, the things that I am putting my hand to are some pretty major things that are going to take some intense focus. And yet they're going to be balanced out with more play, more wonder, more free time, all of the things that summer brings to us. And that as I'm moving through the seasonal journal are going to keep me grounded in. And I'm excited to see how that is all going to play out, because I know it is going to play out perfectly of how it needs to. Because here's what I want you to remember. The goal in walking through these 13 days and this 90-day cycle of setting intentional focuses and things like that, it isn't perfection. That's not the goal. It's not perfection and being overly productive. But here is the really neat thing. Even if you don't reach exactly where you hoped you would be by the end of summer, the act of you showing up and moving forward with intention will transform you. There is something so powerful about growth that will feel so good to you and so wonderful to experience when you get to the end of summer and the end of these 13 weeks, how you will feel. Even if you didn't get exactly where you wanted to get, you're going to feel amazing, because you're not where you are right now in this moment. And I'm not saying right where you're at right now isn't beautiful and good. I love my life. Life is good. In the midst of everything that is imperfect in it, life is a blessing and life is good. But the things that I feel called to in different areas of my life, I know that even on a cellular level, I'm going to be different at the end of 13 weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I wasn't planning on saying this, but I'm going to say this kind of as an accountability. I hope that when you see a video of me in 13 weeks, that you're going to notice that difference, that you're going to say, wow, you look different. Something's going on. You look a little different. And some of you might be thinking that now, that I look different from another video you saw me in. And I will say, I feel different. I feel different because some of the things that I'm walking out this summer were some of the things that were awakened in me this spring that have opened up. They've busted open, and they have the bud has busted open, and the summer's just going to bring forth new fruit. So I feel different today as I've started this week of summer. The things that have been awakened in me, they're awake, they're alive, they have opened up, and they are ready to blossom. And I want the same for you, because I know that there are things in your heart and in your life that you want to see growth and change in. And I don't care what your circumstance is. We all have different circumstances. Growth is always available to us. God is always inviting us to grow right where we are, in the middle of the good, in the middle of the hard, every day, anywhere. He's always inviting us to grow and to transform into the person that he designed and created us to be. So friend, we have 13 beautiful weeks ahead of us, 13 weeks to partner with God and the desires that he's placed within you, 13 weeks to let the rhythm of summer carry us toward the life that we were created to live. The earth showing us right now, the trees, looking at them out the window, they're reaching toward the light. The flowers are blooming. Everything in creation is saying yes to abundance. What if this summer you said yes to grow and to thrive and to bring forth all the beautiful goodness that God has placed within you? I would love to hear what your intention is, the things maybe that you're setting as goals for these next 13 weeks. So if you want to drop me a note in the comment, I would love that. Or you can email me at susan@susanbeth.com. Would love to connect with you and hear what's on your heart. And don't forget, you can find links to free resources and the summer journal in the show notes. And I hope you guys have a great week, and we will talk soon.